I was born, I was just a young boy, but now I'm grown and I'm an old boy. I live in this town, I love you, and there's nothing you can do to change.
I am here and I am ready. I am really ready for this one. Hello, everybody. It is I, Eno of the Mconian. We're not going to be forgetting that 23 this time. Oh no, it's coming. It's coming. So yes, welcome in, brethren, sistren, and those that do not like to be pigeonholed, geeks, freaks, and each and every one of you totally unique to this week's Discordian service on the 11th of Spooky Month 2024. Yes, this month all month it is Spooky Month, but of course this month it isn't all, well, this calendar month it isn't all the same season. Yes, for bureaucracy is coming to an end and Aftermath is just around the corner. Check your Principia Discordia for details. But that's, you know, that's all to come. And this week we've got I'm going to go through a few things right at the beginning, bit of housekeeping. But of course, the major piece of housekeeping that we have to go through right here, right now, is of course the disclaimer. All acts of Discordianism portrayed herein are for spiritual entertainment purposes only. No spiritual enlightenment or transcendent experience is offered or implied. Leaps of faith and logical backflips are performed by trained sophists. Do not attempt to recreate them at home. Any resemblance to other religions alive, dead, or merely untenable is entirely coincidental. Hail Eris and immanentize the Eschatona brands of the Discordian Society. All associated intellectual property rights are probably also wrongs, just the way they are these days, for naught. So we've dealt with that. That was the disclaimer. We love the disclaimer, of course. And probably I should leave it in game mode just to cradle you now in the soothing balm of familiarity. I'm having to do this because of where the camera is. That's fine. It's fine. Yes, the order of service, always the same. Deep thoughts, our sermon, things to think about this week, which we're taking a different track with this week. The goddess came to me and she gave me a realization by punching me in the face. And making me feel very upset. But that's the way it goes sometimes. We will be having, of course, Faces of Eris, a reflective tarot for this week, Kwanda, a forum for you, my beautiful people, to just talk nonsense, which, to be fair, we're probably going for a lot. We're getting into that, the whole talking nonsense thing. We needed more of it last week. We had pair-based nonsense, and it has left a mark upon my soul. It surely has. And that's kind of what we're looking for. But it doesn't have to be pairs. Let's be quite plain about this. It doesn't need to be pairs. And finally, of course, we will be ending with the weekly sacrament. I have my sacraments here. You could get anything at all. We now probably can go full and then move that forward. Yeah, there we go. Good. I'm going for something small and red and tubular to sort of represent, transubstantiate, transcendentally alleviate the need for an actual cold hot dog. If I was to do a cold hot dog, or even a warm hot dog, no bun, at the end of every service, I'll probably get some more viewers, but let's not worry about that. And of course, as we can remember, some of you may be now in the asynchronous flock, the flock that enjoys this on the YouTubes, and that is absolutely fine. All messages that come into the e-chapel here at the SWDP are accepted from any media, and I will be able to chew on them and reflect on them and, bring them forth in that way. The SWTP, in case you are new here, the South Wales Discordian Press, a proud press dedicated to the Discordian arts, which has even more proudly produced not one single syllable of ink on paper ever, because print is dead. But still, here we are at the South Wales Discordian Press, running a service for you lovely, lovely people, both the people who come in on a Friday, drift in and talk nonsense to me in the chat, and the people who are asynchronous, who can leave me little messages of well-being on YouTube. As my flock grows, so does my heart. Just like the Grinch, sort of. Are we doing that? No, that's not. It's not time for that. It is, of course, spooky month, as represented here by the little spooky bat ghost that is part of Deep Thoughts for this week. But before we head on to Deep Thoughts, we will have some housekeeping thoughts. Yes, as I said, the goddess came to me last week, and mostly when I look around, the places like, Reddit and things like that for my Discordian info, and see what's happening in the world of Discordianism, people who say they've encountered the goddess haven't. I'm pretty confident, to be fair, because what follows is some sort of letter to readers' wives in, Goddesses Monthly, Goddesses in Panties Monthly. And do you know what? I think, one of the key features of Our Lady Eris is that she's a very busy lady, and she doesn't have time to go around, kissing and telling with you dirty scoundrels. No, but she came to me, and I know it was her because she slapped me in the face and told me not to be so stupid, because last month it was the beginning of another month of services here in the E-Chapel, and we had a sort of deep thoughts. That's the section we're about to go into, about which calendars we were going to sort of stick to. There is a Discordian calendar. How much should we use the Discordian calendar, and how much should we stick to the regular calendar that everyone else uses? There are questions of practicality and philosophy. I'm not going to go into it again here, but I eventually settled here at this SWDP. We observe the regular calendar with some finesses, such as we will recognise the seasons. 5 seasons of the Discordian calendar, just because, well, we're arbitrarily carving up our lives anyway, aren't we? We have weeks and we have months, and it's all pretty, arbitrary, but it helps us give us some sort of sense of position in the roiling chaos of life. And so, other people who involved in other spiritual activities, they can carve up their time arbitrarily and add extra bits in here and there where they feel like it as well. So why not us? So rather than treat it as a month of 5 years, which gives us far fewer Fridays, to be honest, as we've already discussed before, and also far fewer opportunities to sort of just participate than the regular calendar. But the one thing we can do is say, hey, we're not going to just stick to the 4 normal seasons, because they're pretty arbitrary. They're just like, is it hot now? Where must be summer? Is it cold now? It must be winter. Are there annoying yellow and orange leaves all over the floor? Must be autumn, as we say in the UK. This is South Wales. It's not America. We're not calling it fall. We're calling it autumn here, all right? But it doesn't matter, because we're not calling it anyway, because we're Discordians, yeah? And then is it none of the others apply? It's sort of slightly warm, but maybe a bit windy and wet, and people are eating chocolate eggs everywhere. Well, must be spring then, yeah? Okay, so that is how, there's no further purpose to the traditional seasons than to describe what the weather might be doing. So why not just junk them if you're a Discordian and go with the currently available page 34 of your Principia. Your cover may vary, but 34 is consistent because they've handily, for a chaotic religious organisation, we haven't half numbered our pages. Oh, I tell you, we've numbered them. So yeah, page 34, you got the full thing there. So we're currently near the end of the bureaucracy, the season of bureaucracy, and we're about to enter the series of the aftermath that runs right until the end of the year, and then we can look forward to another year where we go through chaos, discord, confusion, bureaucracy, and back to the aftermath again. So yeah, it's a good time of the year, the aftermath. Actually, I don't know, because I haven't been tuned in to these things, and you have to tune into them to experience them. Although, to be fair, there is a sort of a feeling, maybe, or a sort of notion that affects things that are going to happen in the future. Most likely, they kind of come back to you, and the you know, like that whole analogy of throwing a pebble in a pond and the ripples. Well, the ripples don't go just one direction. Yeah, they go in all directions. And much the same, I think that these sort of events where you tune into energies that are surrounding, the ripples of those come back to you before you know that you're going to experience the event. It sort of happens because we've been deep in the midst of bureaucracy, and indeed in a month that was dubbed Sept means 7. And that month's the theme was all about looking at the things that are part of consensus reality and saying, isn't this weird? Like September, translated from the original Latin, means the 7th month. But it's the 9th month. And this October is translates to the 8th month, but it's the 10th month. And that was what Sept means 7. It was always about taking things apart and going, this is all really weird. And that's what happened, and it should have stopped. We came into Spooky Month, and was the first Deep Thoughts that we did, was that all about spooky things? No, it was another Sept means 7, look at the wiring under the board. So, and the goddess, she didn't like that. She didn't take to that. She was like, no, you asked me what the month was called, and I told you it's called Spooky Month. So this is Spooky Month. So the services have to be about Spooky Month, right? But you're making another one about layered realities that's really about deconstruction again. You can do that sermon when we come back to another month that is allowed for, you know, reality deconstruction. I am wiping this off the face of Twitch, and indeed, if you go and look at the YouTube now, I did 8 minutes so that people could enjoy their sacrament, you know, just quickly in an asynchronous fashion. But the rest of the service is lost for the time being. So that was my fault. I hold my hands up. I was fluffling about, and I completely failed to read the room, and I didn't take the vibe. And as such, this month's, or this week's service, and indeed this month's services, are all going to be sticking to the theme, because that's what the goddess said. And what the goddess wants, the goddess gets. That's how it works. So indeed, here we go. This is it. Deep Thoughts for this week. And we are going to be talking this week. Oh, well, first of all, we didn't get to do this properly last time because of the aforementioned loss. For some reason, it doesn't like the transition between these two slides, and I don't know why. But there we go. We've managed it. It's here. Yes. Be amazed. Be amazed, people. It is Spooky Month. The month of spookiness. Now, I don't know if I need to go through this again. If I don't, and you're here sitting watching, and you're like, oh, he's not going to go through this again, just let me know and I'll skip. But essentially, in the SWDP, yes, the month might be called October, and in order for us to make our, you know, meetings at work and appointments to meet friends for coffee, we'll call it October. But the heart of the month is the Discordian name, the SWTP approved name, and this month the goddess has told us the month is Spooky Month, and that kind of gives us a theme. It's a little bit of ritualized chaos magic, and you know, if you follow along, you follow along, or you could do your own thing. That is the beauty of Discordianism, yeah, is that you can follow what I'm saying, or you could just dismiss it. You know, it's too much for me, mate. I'm not going to do that. That's fine. But round here in the actual e-chapel and in the immediate environs, you know, even my wife's like, what's the month this month? And then I tell her. Now, we are allowed a little leeway, yeah. We're not going to call a month the month that everything is disastrous and we end up destitute. We're not going to call a month that, because even if there's a strong feeling that you could call a month that, it's probably a bad idea. So we find whatever works. There's a little bit of negotiation there. It's one of the few spiritual paths you can take when negotiation is allowed, but you have to stick to, you know, it has to ring, has to pop. And so this month is Spooky Month. So there we go. So that's where we are. I thought, you know, the tradition of spookiness in Spooky Month is centered around storytelling. And how do we tell stories? How do we tell stories in our culture that we know? Well, mostly through movies, television shows, that kind of thing. And so I thought it might be appropriate to the flock to have a little word about cinema in the Spooky Month. So that's what we're going to do. Now, the first slide I've got here shows some films. Now, I love these films, okay? So these are films that I love. Okay, all of them. Yeah, we got a little bit of The Exorcist there. Hocus Pocus. Actually, I don't really love Hocus Pocus, but lots of people do, including my spouse. Yeah, and so I'm including it because it is seen as possibly a great Spooky Month movie. Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, a classic. And The Wicker Man, another classic. And of course, these are all full of Discordian content that I can talk about. No, they aren't. They aren't full of Discordian content. Master Pickles. Halos and great Eno M. I do love to be called great. It is true. We're just talking about Spooky Month cinema and Discordian messages that you may receive in between the Fnords. Finally caught on live. Oh, well, it is, yeah, the thing is, it has to be done when it has to be done. I am looking at special occasions when I can run a second service. For example, next Sunday is the first day of The Aftermath, the 5th season of the Discordian calendar. So I'll see if I can work something together. It won't be the same format as the Friday service, but I need to cook something up. And indeed, I'm dedicated to that cause, and that'll be happening next Sunday at some point. So I'll make announcements on socials. Socials are on the the slide at the end, so you'll be able to keep track of that. Anyway, how are you, my brother or sister, or maybe you don't like to be pigeonholed. All of these things are true, and all of those categories are, of course, welcome into the e-chapel. So yes, Friday, and indeed spooky movies. Do you watch spooky movies in Spooky Month? That is a question that is valid, and also a great topic of conversation, I think. And I'm just explaining here why these particular movies, they're not very Discordian, and in fact they represent a big problem with the sort of horror genre and Discordianism, because there's a philosophy of Manichaeism that sort of says there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. I mean, that's really boiled down, as you can probably tell by the fact I said there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. But of course, Discordium rests in a framework where you say there is Erisian stuff and Anerisian stuff. There is order and there is chaos. And often, keep my eyes on Discord. Good plan. I don't put the Discord on there because the Discord is sadly a bit quiet at the moment. I'm really not very good at Discord. I'm not very good at it, just generally. Other than it, the pun is very much intended. Yeah, I love that. When Eris was the Eris of the week in like the second week or whatever, I was like, she don't make no money off that software, which I think is, they should be tributing, man. I'm wondering if something bad is going to happen to those people, because it is quite disrespectful. I mean, she is literally, when she's around Italy, Discordia. That's her literal name. But people are anyway. Yeah. There is actually, of course, a trucking company called Discordia that operates between her. I'm very good, thank you. How about you? I am in pretty good shape. I've recovered from the goddess saying your service last week was rubbish, and then deleting off Twitch before I got to the end. And I'm now feeling good, feeling energized for the end of bureaucracy. I think this is one of the things, like I said about events. The Principia Discordia calendar, page 34, was, of course, written in the 60s. And I only sort of came across it as a sort of item a few weeks ago, because unlike people in other spiritual paths and religions, you don't have to, there's no Bible study for Discordianism. In fact, one of the first things that you learn here is you are prohibited from believing anything that you read. I mean, you can doubt it and then come back to it later and go, actually, that's fine, I'll believe that. But yeah, we are prohibited. So what's the point of reading the whole book? We're only prohibited from believing any of it anyway. So it's very much a dip. It's very much a coffee table kind of experience reading the Principia. You dip in occasionally, you pull something out. And I've pulled out the calendar recently and had a little wrestle with it, and I've come out, so we're going to do the seasons. So bureaucracy, I've realised in retrospect, that stretch from late August through to the back end of Spooky Month, yeah, that is quite an ordeal of bureaucracy, just generally. Like your schools go in September and all this stuff. There's always paperwork in bureaucracy. How is society at large stuck to this very Discordian idea of a season of bureaucracy? But they have. I don't think we made it up, because those items in that order are, of course, the Holy Bicycle and the Holy Tricycle. More on which another time. But yeah, we're about to go into Aftermath, and of course Aftermath I'm expecting to be a bit more chilled out, slowly ease down into our communal cultural mukbang at the end of the year. I just learnt that word the other week. I know that we're not all eating our Christmas dinner or whatever large repast passes in your particular spiritual path on camera, but the word mukbang is fun to say. So, but yeah, so all of these movies that we have here are very Manichaean, and in fact some of them are directly talking about other spiritual paths. Yeah, The Wicker Man, you'd think that would be great, but honestly you'd make a mistake if you submitted pure Discordianism with pure paganism. Yeah, you can have the two together. In fact, you can have the two, you can have your Discordianism with a side of whatever else that you like. Some people like Buddhism, and other people other things. So that's all fine. Yeah, but honestly, Wicker Man's big sort of like it does in fact demonstrate the sort of idea of, to a pagan, the Wicker Man should be a bit like a sort of black comedy, because that's not what paganism's like, but whatever, So we're going to have a look momentarily at a list of 5. They're not a top 5, you understand. They're just a list of 5 movies, which you can glean Discordian vibes from. So we're going to do that, but I'm looking at the timer in the corner, and I am aware that if we start in on it now, we'll have to stop it almost immediately. So there is a brief pause now for, hydration, get yourself a biscuit, prepare yourself mentally for the coming of 23, for it is nearly here. And that was the other thing. The goddess also wanted to punch me swiftly in the nose for introducing 23 one week and then the next week just forgetting that it was going to happen whatsoever. And obviously I have taken measures to improve that situation in the past week, as we now have, for a reminder of yourselves and for me, a countdown until the 23rd minute of the actual service. The timer in the corner of Twitch says something a bit different, but that's because we have that little buffer at the beginning with the starting soon stuff. The timer does not lie. 23 will arrive in approximately 40 seconds. I find the Discording calendar so interesting, but I don't really understand enough to be able to use it. Do you actually use it in your day-to-day? This is an excellent question, and I would deal with it in more than 30 seconds. So we're just going to have to wait. I sometimes wish, I have got a Stream Deck here, but I kind of wish that I had a soundboard, because I feel that 23 should have a noise. Maybe I could get something on my keyboard. I'll look into it. But there's no time to look into it now. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... It's 23, the 23rd minute of the service. And as such, we must take a moment and recognise where we are in that 23rd minute. Look at the 23s in the border, internalize those 23s, think about the numbers together, 23, think about them separately, 2 and 3. What is the mystery of 23? J.J. Abrams isn't going to tell you, and he loves a mystery box, but 23 cannot be boxed. No, No, 23 is out there. 23 is for all of us, and we must accept and embrace 23. That was this week's 23. It'll pick up. We're still running that vibe. I imagine such a central part of our lives that we so rarely think about would have some big impact on our mind. 23! Yeah, you see, the thing about the calendar is I did fully... Right, okay, here's one of my big things about Discordianism in general, is that most spiritual paths say, come along to a meeting, come along to 5. Yeah, it's easy. There's nothing easier than being an insert name of religious acolyte here. The big ones, they were all selling you that. It's like, come, the whole marketing campaign that they did. Like, yeah, all you have to do is accept Jesus into your heart. You're there. That's fine. He loves you, man. He wants to be in your heart. He'll buy you a drink and everything. Yeah, he might even turn some water into wine for you. That's what they say. It's really. And then you go and you find that it's difficult. I mean, I find that most people find that they're spiritual. They find that there's a lot of rules, regulations, not just rules and regulations, though, but also practices. There's also changes to the way that you think, and they don't tell you. But Discordianism is very upfront about being obtuse and very difficult to integrate. Yeah, like they're trying to persuade you that if you just do a number of tasks, like some kind of insane main character in an open world sort of religious sim, yeah, that you are gonna just naturally fall into that thought. Discordianism doesn't give you any like such false advertising. So no, you probably don't want to come in here, man. It's very confusing. And besides which, we're not even serious, although the part of it is that we're not very serious. So that's very serious that we aren't serious about it. It's a joke. But it is a religion. But it is a joke. But it's a religion. Here's a holy book for you. If you read that, you'll probably understand less at the end of it than you did when you came in. Good luck. Yeah, that is literally Discordianism, and the calendar is no thing. And what they're saying to you is, take every part, take every lesson, take every word of the Principia Discordia, and all the stuff that you can find in the notes in the Historia Discordia, and Black Iron Prison, everything you read, take it and try and fit it in your head, but you might not succeed, and maybe you'll come up with some relation to this idea, and then you're doing the right thing. And so the calendar is no different. I took a look at it, and as I said, what I've decided is that we're going to do the seasons. So there's a ready reckoner in the Principia, and it tells you like when each one is. Days of the week? No. Apart from anything else, that's a stupid idea. It's obviously a joke. And a practical one at that, because if you use the Discordian days of the week, you never have Friday. You never have Friday. And what are we supposed to do on Fridays? We're supposed to come here and talk nonsense and have a sacrament of a hot dog, no bun, which we joyously avow to part but together. The whole thing, yeah, is that we have to have Fridays. So the calendar deliberately tries to throw you off by not having any Fridays in it, because all the week's days are called something else. But the thing about it is, it's like they're saying to you, I mean, it's a lesson in itself, yeah? Take it in, but don't take all of it. But don't throw all of it out. Because I think, weirdly, the 5 seasons, if you think about them, chaos, disorder, bureaucracy, aftermath, all of that kind of stuff, yeah, the year kind of does sort of follow along with those vibes. And having 5 seasons, apart from anything else, if you internally are walking around with everybody else having 4 seasons and you're enjoying 5 seasons, it does give you that Discordian space to yourself, where in between Discordians you're like, yeah, everyone is calling this autumn, but we know it ain't autumn, it's bureaucracy, and everyone's calling this winter, but it ain't winter, it's aftermath, or it's chaos. That is essentially how I'm going to approach it, and I'm feeling the vibe already. And that's the thing, I think all spiritual paths, by the way, allow you to tune into a vibe. Yeah, they may not tell you that's what you're doing, but that's what you're doing. And it takes work and practice of your own, mentally and indeed through ritual and what have you. And then you tune into the vibe. Yeah, so Yeah, I didn't notice it until I was like, do you know what? I think I'm going to do this because that makes sense. 73, I think it is 73 or 78 days. No, 73 days, because I was like, is that the same number as cards in a tarot deck? And it's not. 78 degrees of wisdom in the tarot deck, 73 in a Discordian. It is weird, though, right? That we've got 365 days in a year. So the year divides into 5 equal sections. Probably just a coincidence, but so yeah, so that's basically what we're going to try out, or what we're going to try out here at SWDP. We're going to mark those 5 seasons, because I think we'll get a vibe buff. It's like being in a role-playing game. You have tuned into a Discordian buff. If all your armor is Discordian, then nobody knows how to hit you, because they get really confused. That kind of thing, Life is a CRPG, and an action one at that. Cool. But I ain't never going down in that cellar, because I don't like killing rats. Ugh. Yeah, okay, so we're going to have a look at some Discordian movies now, because I said so. So the first Discordian movie that I've heard, which is suitable for Spooky Month, but is technically a thriller, but is one of the most Discordian movies that exists, is David Fincher's excellent The Game. Now, you may know The Game, and you may not think, excellent. I'm not sure I'd go that far, because it can come across a bit mid, but anyone who thinks that is just not vibing on it. We've got some features here. First of all, The Game laughs very loud at conspiracy theorists, and Discordianism, as it embraces conspiracy, so it also laughs at it, because everything in Discordianism is a paradox. So any movie that paradoxically relies for its drama on some grand conspiracy, but also kind of pokes fun at it, it helps you. It's a parable. It's a parable of the Discordian approach to conspiracy theories. And it demonstrates layers of reality, because the film starts and the guy's in one reality, and in the dramatic, coincidences are just errors. Exactly. Coincidences, disasters. And indeed, the Faces of Eris section of the service is very much directed towards the idea that Eris doesn't come to you like the big guy with the beard came to Saul upon the road and he became Paul, right? Burning bushes. It doesn't work like that. Eris is just there. She's like the ultimate. It's like Family Guy reference humor. Yeah, it's just suddenly, as you say, little winks. You suddenly, Eris, I get filled with Erisness for a second because I've seen this or I've seen that. And that is how it works. That's how it operates. That's how the vibe comes to you. Yeah. And it does remind you to be like a surfer and to be watching out. You are surfing the vibe and you have to watch out for your opportunities to dance with the chaos. Yeah. So yeah, the game demonstrates reality layers. The guy starts out in a humdrum normal world, enters a world of sort of artificial reality before such a thing was even a thing, and sort of this crazy, and then is questioning, is this my reality now? Has my old reality been totally dismantled? What is going on? And then, of course, the S. There will be spoilers, by the way, for this film that came out in 30 plus years ago. So, I'm not going to hold back, but I'm just sort of working my throat. So yes, it does very much also sort of give you a parable for the Chapel Perilous, as old Bob called that experience where all the maps run out. And his belief there that you either came out of that stone cold paranoid or a stone cold agnostic. I'm not sure that it is just those two choices, but hey, that sounds funky if you're on a radio show or a podcast, so go with it. Just tell people stuff. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It just matters that it sounds cool. That is very important in any spiritual path. Tell people stuff that sounds cool. We're all advertising at the end of the day. But yeah, the Chapel Perilous, I do believe in that concept. For I have myself paid a visit to that very place. All my reality maps completely shredded, had to sit and think and rebuild my own reality, and it was a whole thing, yeah. And this is about a company that takes you to the Chapel Perilous. You don't know where reality lies anymore, or what in fact is going on, or who is what. And indeed, Mr. Douglas's character does become very paranoid towards the end of the movie. But then, of course, that twist. The twist being that there's no twist. The movie is very open about what is going to happen. A man is going to enroll using sort of a gift voucher in an experience that will challenge his sense of reality. But don't worry, it's just a game. But then by the end, he's like, oh, they've tricked me. They've got me now. I'm going to die. And then, no, it was a game, dude. It was a game. The movie's called The Game. You were told it was a game. At all stages, it was a game. And everybody's like, whoa, okay. That's a bit that some people find very, A, confusing and B, disappointing. But the fact of the matter is that some layer of consensus reality remains, whatever crazy stuff is going on inside your personal tunnel. And so if they want to whip that away and suddenly you're back in a sort of more consensus reality, somewhere you can find your way. And the moral, if you want, of the game is that Michael Douglas, his character, he has gone through this gauntlet to the Chapel Perilous, and we are to conclude that of the two choices, he dipped into paranoia, but he has come out now reality agnostic, and we are supposed to celebrate that. The agnosticism is what we're after. As we say, we're prohibited from believing anything. So moving on, the second one we got, you can't really see the title there because this poster is weird. I wish they'd had a better version of the poster here, but I've gone via Wikipedia. I don't want to be using copyright images, whatever it is, even though I'm technically advertising these films. I'm telling you to go watch them. That is the madness of the modern world. You can't even recommend something without worrying that someone somewhere might go, that's not allowed. But this is In the Mouth of Madness. In fact, John Carpenter, I think, appears twice in this list of 5 because he has this notion of the sort of... Well, first of all, In the Mouth of Madness hints at the chaos underneath. There is definitely an Erisian and Aneresian factor to the story and the drama, that unfolds around Sam Neill's character in this movie. But the point is that both sides are backed by this roiling, dark, Lovecraftian chaos. Lovecraft, in fact, has come the closest of any author to trying to put us in touch. We can never really touch the chaos. We can't, but we can sense that it's there, and that was the innovation of Baroque horror. And in fact, we have a dark wizard in here. Now, this is interesting because all the Discordian literature that you have, you have Greyface. There's Greyface. But there isn't really a devil. That's why Greyface kind of exists. He is the Erisian devil to a certain... But unlike the sort of other spiritual paths where they try to invest this sort of anti-ethic personified as a sort of something powerful and you must quake before, Greyface is really just a bit sad. Really just a bit sad. Because apart from anything else, he's on the side of the Aneresian forces. So order. And anyone who's subscribing to Discord says that's definitely the wrong side. Because everything underneath the sort of Erisian chaos is true chaos. There's no true order. There's only true chaos. So joining hashtag Team Order, it's a bit pointless, really. And in fact, as an Erisian, you use order because as the cow tells us, in order is chaos, and in chaos is order, which is another reason why Greyface is sort of not a good thing. But the Dark Wizard, the idea of someone using their Erisian knowledge of chaos for evil. That's a cautionary tale, and it's a cautionary tale us Erisians can get behind. So, there's more conspiracies, of course. Sutter Kane is the name of the Dark Wizard in the Mouth of Madness, and there are lots of conspiracies about Sutter Kane's true agenda and his true nature and all of this stuff. And the best thing is that those conspiracies, well, at the end, The healing power of maniacal laughter is the true ending here. It says you've got to laugh. Very Dadaist, actually. Sam Neill at the end gives up trying to make sense of it all, wanders out of his insane asylum, nips over to the cinema, sees that the cinema is showing the movie he's just starred in, and he laughs. How he laughs. So, you know, you can take that as a dark ending, which obviously John Carpenter probably intended, but there is also a level at which you could take it that he's finally free. He's spent the whole movie trying to make sense of stuff, and at the end he's like, I'm such a fool. I was trying to make sense of it, but none of it makes sense. So that's cool, you know. It's maybe even a happy ending. That's actually changed the way I look at that movie. I want to go and watch it again now. They Live, of course, the ultimate conspiracy theory movie. The ultimate. Not this is the second John Carpenter movie in here. And in fact, it's really interesting in the commentary to this movie. John Carpenter and Rowdy Roddy Piper, who's the main character, who plays the main character in the movie, are talking about how this is a movie that's very much blue collar guy against the man. Yeah, it's very counterculture, very hippie in the way that it unfolds, and it shows that, you know, in the sequence where he gets the glasses, it's kind of like the Maharaja controlling the wheel of life, but also being a Buddha. Yeah, absolutely. You're talking still about In the Mouth of Madness there, but yes, you're absolutely correct. There's definitely that. There's always duality in all of these horror movies. There's a duality, and this is the straightest horror movie because you have a blue collar guy who gets these glasses and realizes there's these skeletal aliens who are controlling humanity, and then he fights those aliens. Yeah, now we're not usually into that kind of thing, over just having a good guy and a bad guy or what have you, but I think the way that they've layered it in so that it's very much the common man, and the way that the They Live aliens are very grey face. It's sort of like a popcorn movie for us in the Discordian church. And it also talks about the fact that we're always going to be flirting with paranoia. And actually, now I come to say that out loud, that is kind of a thing, whichever spiritual path that you're following, you can always find yourself painted into a corner because fear is universal to the human experience, and just because you're trying to be spiritual doesn't mean the fear can't find little ways to get at you. So it's a cautionary tale about that paranoia. Of course, it has the big explosion at the end where the hero gives his life for all of this stuff, and it is of course an Illuminati parable. It is like the aliens are supposed to be like a real tangible Illuminati, and he is fighting them, you know, with his and it's almost like a bit at the end where he's gone into a sort of schizophrenic episode. Well, Total Recall, of course, is a very Discordian movie. Science fiction tends to have a lot more Discordianism in it than horror, so we're sticking to horror. We will, of course, pick up this movie theme of movies that are essential for the Discord, really good Discordian material, but it doesn't tend to live in horror. Nightbreed, a Clive Barker movie here, which it says, first of all, it says we are all monsters. Same way we are all popes, right? Every Discordian is a pope. In Nightbreed, again, because of the horror mechanic and because they need conflict, there are monsters and there are humans. But the joke of it is that the humans are the real monsters and the monsters are really not. Sorry, I have to bounce right now. It's great hanging out. It was wonderful to have you in, Master Pickles. I hope we have some more lives in the future. Keep up the good shit. Cheers. That's brilliant. You have a great night, man, and it's great to see someone coming in and participating in the service. Have a good one. Excellent. So the fact is that everyone in Nightbreed is a monster. Either they're a monster because they're actually really nice, but happen to actually be of a breed of monsters, or they're humans, which is the real monsters. Yeah. So that kind of parable, very much. Greyface enters the arena. There is, of course, the leather-faced doctor, a psychiatrist nonetheless, who is a serial killer and a hater of monsters, portrayed by David Cronenberg, whose name we have not heard the last time during this service, and that portrayal of the ultimate need to control and to destroy what is free, like the notion of being a monster is like a notion of being spiritually free in Nightbird, and Greyface hates that, and so your psychiatrist doctor, he also hates it and he wants to destroy it, and it does show, like, you know, how pathetic that kind of thought process is, and his psychiatric manipulation is obviously Greyface-ish as well. It says for you to embrace, for those, we are supposed to stand with the literal monsters as opposed to the metaphorical human monsters, so we are to embrace the monstrous physiques and so on and so forth, are all about embracing chaos and allowing the chaos to make us stronger. Okay, so that's a great message for Discordians, and it talks about the hidden world, the reality layer underneath the top part of reality. Absolutely bob on Discordian messages. And finally, a film directed by David Cronenberg, Existenz, that is very much a metaphor for reality tunnels. And people talk, they only have the budget to show you like 2 or 3 different reality tunnels, yeah, although they sort of mash these reality layers up together. And that's the thing, if you really have to concentrate to follow when the characters flip from one layer of reality to another. There's sort of a suggestion that there's like a prime reality, and then these other realities are kind of like experiential, they're created realities that we're dipping into. But as the film goes on, it's not concerned with which is the really real reality. The narrative, it just takes place, it spreads across multiple different realities, and it talks about how therefore your perception of your own identity can be manipulated by that chaotic flipping from one reality layer to another, and it kind of helps us make sense of those situations that we may find ourselves in where we act what we would say is out of character. Is it merely because this was another us in a different reality that was like coming through? Is that what was happening? If we are more aware of this malleable nature of reality and how that may affect our identity and reactions to situations, then we are more powerful and in control. We walk among those worlds, yeah? And in fact, this is the question, where with a reality. I've done that. This is a bit pseudy, a bit pretentious, this bit. But I'm saying, what of reality? Yeah? What about it? Yeah? Is reality, as Bob said, is what we can get away with? Yeah, and this film really puts that front and center. It says, you know, you may find yourself, you know, in a situation, and how you act, it may surprise you because it's a completely bizarre situation, and you suddenly, I didn't know I had that in me. So it says, like, reality is kind of mostly up here. Yeah, we are creating it. We are reacting to it. And if we want a stronger identity, then we want to reflect upon that. We want to always stop and say, the me that I think I am, how would that me behave in this situation? Not just reacting because, oh, suddenly I'm in this situation, so I feel I ought to react. That's robot thinking. Yeah, we want magician thinking. Yeah, we want to think, how do we control our journey through these differing realities? And the other thing, of course, is that Existenz, David Cronenberg loves this. Videodrome was almost made the cut, but I think Existenz is just pips it in terms of pure Discordianism. And indeed, Existenz could be regarded as a sci-fi rather than a horror, but it has, Cronenberg loves his body horror, so it slides in here. But yeah, he loves to have this idea of people working in this idea of people conspiring, and are they a conspirator, or are they the target of the conspiracy, or are they an investigator into the conspiracy? And there's a sort of, I think, you know, if you were to ask him, Cronenberg would say, it doesn't really matter, does it? And in fact, it's almost what you decide. That's part of your kind of constructed identity. Am I the agent? Am I an investigator outside of the conspiracy itself? Am I a conspirator trying to pull off a conspiracy with my other co-conspirators? Is any of that real, or is it just chaos? Well, of course, we all know the answer to that. So, you know. Okay, and that will be the conclusion of my spooky month recommendations. If you've seen them before, watch them again. Look through the Discordian lens. And if you haven't seen them before, what are you doing? Go and watch them. Be Discordian. Watch some Discordian horror movies. You know, that's what it's all about. Okay, so and we're moving on now. Faces of Eris. We'll do this one quick. We'll do this one quick because we're running low on time. And as well as which, this is like this segment is, I think, has been overblown. I think we've tried to really, you know, get under the skin too far in a way in previous services. But we will now be looking at this Face of Eris. Oh, I went backwards. I pressed the wrong button. Oh, terrible. Right, there we go. Hey! Here is the roiling chaos. The roiling chaos, of course, of the thing. And we find that this week we are confronted with Miss Chalice. Why? Why is Miss Chalice Face of Eris? Well, those of you who have played the video game Cuphead will, of course, be well aware, even at this particular stage, right, that Miss Chalice almost... There's an instinctive... Oh, yeah, this works. Yeah, before I put any little bullet points on the screen. But let's quickly go through them. Yeah, she's a ghost. That's the first thing. Spooky month appropriate. Spooky month appropriate Face of Eris. Yeah. The second thing which we've got here is that she's very morally flexible, and this is like a thing, right? This is a thing for all those people who... We are, of course, worshipping the goddess, but it is very important not to idolize the goddess. If you had a little bracelet that said, what would Eris do? It is 50-50 whether the action that Eris would take, whether you can even guess that. I think that's even lower than 50-50. In fact, I think you'd be very, very lucky to get, because it's chaos, my friend. She's surfing the chaos. Yeah. But the other thing about it is, would what Eris decided to do be good for you? Would that decision really be in your best interests? Would it be good for your sanity? Would it be good for your body? Would it be good for your world, your reality? Probably not. And it's good to be reminded by a character who will sell everybody out in order to self-preserve. Yeah, that is as Erisian as any other interpretation. Yeah, so she is all singing and all dancing as well. Say what you like about Miss Chalice, but she is fun. And that is one of the great draws, of course, of the Erisian path, the Discordianism. We're promised a bit more fun than on other spiritual paths. But the thing is, you know, look at the Bacchae. Along with fun comes the caution that fun can get a little bit, you know, out of hand. So just say, she walks a lonely path. At the end of the day, Miss Chalice is a survivor. But the problem of being a survivor is that you are always, there's no one that you can trust. Trust is a vibe, and we have to harness the organizational powers of order in order to build trust, and there's nothing wrong with that, because in all order lies the basis of chaos. So there we go. Healthy contempt for the devil role. Yes, there is a devil in Cuphead, and Miss Chalice may be appropriately respectful to the devil, or indeed, as with anyone she owes a lot of money to who has a lot of demons working for them, has a healthy respect for that, and will always be looking, keeping an eye out for an out, and way to slip away from the devil, because she doesn't hold the devil as something that is irresistible or, you know, irrevocable or whatever. He's just another mark to Miss Chalice, and that's how we should regard the devil, everybody. He can be just another mark. Imagine that. If you take on and you fool the devil, I mean, that's a whole thing. It's a whole genre. Fool the devil. Yeah, make a fool of the devil. That's a score, right? That's not, oh, you're going to be in trouble now. That's a score. Yeah, the devil doesn't want to be tricked, if such a thing is even a thing. It's complex. When we come to Discordianism, devil stuff, that's very complex. So we'll save that for another time. And yeah, so she is problematically spooky. Yeah, it's this idea. This is spooky month. Yeah, we've got a lot of elements in here. We've got cartoonishness, we've got singing, we've got dancing, we've got playing people for fools, we've got tricking people, deceiving people, deceptiveness. All of these qualities can come together to form something spooky. Yeah, spooky means a lot of different things. And as this is spooky month, it might do us well to remember that it's not just all about tossing some popcorn in your mouth and watching a spooky movie. Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to spookiness, and that is the vibe that we're saddled with until after the spooky day of days, the 31st, Halloween. Okay, and that was the Face of Eris for this week. Very good Face of Eris, and I enjoyed chuntering through it at extreme speed. But all things come to us, all things, and we've had quite a good discussion. So I'm not expecting Kandar to last that long this week, because to be fair, we've had plenty of Qs and indeed As, and the Kandar space is there. Maybe, if you've not been to the meeting before and you want to say something, now is the time. That kind of thing. So it's a time for people to pipe up for the first time. But otherwise, the whole blooming service is really Kandar time. I enjoy engaging with your thoughts about the deep thoughts, and indeed I enjoy that engagement that comes forth from the flock, because it means the flock are flexing their mental muscles and making their own mind up. And this is, I would say, the only spiritual path in which that is encouraged. I've been watching a whole thing about, obviously, anyone interested in Discordianism, counterculture, all that is interested in cultishness. And indeed, if we have anyone currently lurking around there, which I know that the chat, the Twitch thing doesn't often, is not 100% reliable. It's a bit of a finger in the air, especially at low numbers. If you want to give me a number between 1 and 78 in the chat, you don't even have to just type the number, then you are perfectly welcome to do so. Otherwise, we will have to rely on the vibes. Once again, the vibes. I do have to give it a couple of minutes as well, because, there is a small delay between my live saying things and people being able to respond. So I will give us that amount of space now. And in fact, while I'm doing it, I shall start moving the deck. If a number comes in while I'm moving the deck, we shall take the card that I am at as being card number 1, even though I have already started to rearrange, because that's all part of the flow. Chaos is very important in this process. I'm not even counting now. I'm not even picking a number. I'm just okay. So I think we are alone here. So in asynchronous land, this is going to be the chaotic choice. So I'm just going to keep going a bit longer, couple more cards, because I'm feeling that this card here is the card for this week. And this card here is the 8 of Pentacles. So we got a little... One of the things that I'm going to talk about, in fact, in this card, because we've got a little pyramid with an eye going on there. 8 is a weird number. And the 8 of Pentacles. Essentially, obviously, the numbers 1 through 10 are actually vibe management, now that I keep using the word vibe. Yeah, because I don't want to use the word energy, because seriously, people, energy, I don't know. I understand it and I go with it, but do I have to like it? I don't have to like it. So vibe is my substitute for that. So the vibe, so the numbers 1 to 10 manage a vibe from its inception through its life until it is full and complete. If you had a 1 to 10 for a tree, then the ace would be the seed planted in the ground, and then the 2 would be when it breaks soil, and then the 3, and so on and so forth. So you have a full tree which bears fruit and all of that stuff. Okay, so the 8 in the 8 of Pentacles is about a vibe that is nearly ever so nearly come to fruition, very nearly. And of course, Pentacles is the vibe of emotional security, so often associated with career, money, that kind of thing, not so much with love, romance, whirlwindy type stuff like that. So the 8 of Pentacles, and as we can see here, our little eye pyramid guy is working hard on his 8th pentacle. And this is that exact thing. He's collected 7 pentacles. He's made them. He's got them on display. Well, most of them, 6 of them anyway. And then he's got one underneath the bench because he's so busy. He has to produce that 8th pentacle. And that's what this card is really all about. It's about that idea of being right, not even in the midst of that building of emotional security, of that building of security, be it financial security, or house. It's like when you've got, just a few payments left on your mortgage, or when you are about to hit a target in your savings or your pension. You see, it does all get a bit businessy, yeah. But it could also be the reason I said mortgage, house. You've nearly completed. You've got, you've got to save up a bit of money, get an extension on your house, and then you feel your house will be perfect. Or you're in a position to get a better car, and you're going to get that better car, and you're going to have it. You've not made the tippity top yet. Your security is not complete, but you're right in the midst of that energy, and it's very stable. So it's talking about that kind of 8 energy, and that, what does that give us opportunities for? It gives us opportunities, I think, for taking stock. I think, it warns us, yeah. If we're in that 8 of Pentacles space where that security is nearly complete, then the question is, have we? What else have we got? What fringe benefits did we get out of building whatever we've built? Have we built the right thing? It's never too late to say, am I barking up the wrong tree here? You may make a revelation and a discovery that rather than being in the 8 space, you're really in the 9 or even the 10 space, or maybe you slip back a bit. Whatever it is, it's a thing of saying, do you know what? All of this around us that we're like, oh, we've got our head down and we're just moving forward, and it's a warning of that robot mentality of, is this really, am I really, life isn't a series of check marks. Yes, we can use a series of check marks on a to-do list to get something done, but that's not life. So it's almost a sort of thing saying, look, you're right in the midst of this, and I know it's probably a bad time to say, maybe take a second. Just think, is this really what it's all about? So that is our reflective point for this week. And so we move, of course, to Kanda. We've already established that there's nobody about, and I don't really have nothing for Kanda. So unless there are any objections in the next few seconds, we shall be moving swiftly along. I don't know how long to give it, because I don't know how long. If you've got a question, just ask it anyway. There is, of course, the point of the actual sacrament. You're probably best not actually interrupting that. But, anything else is fine. And so we come on. Here it is. It's time. Holy cow! It's time for the weekly sacrament. So I reach. Now, this is a very pomp and circumstance bit of the service, but that's the idea of this part of the service. Here indeed is the jar of sacraments. See, I can make it less pompous by just saying dumb things. That always helps. I am removing my symbolic hot dog from the sacramental jar, and I will hold it aloft so that you can all see the might and power of my sacramental hot dog. There it is. And now, of course, we are all going to stick apart together, go off alone but together, and joyously partake while we're alone but all at the same time together. You asynchronous flock members, of course, you have a natural advantage in this place. Although I recorded this for you indeed to partake in this glorious Discordian service, you are enjoying it alone and joyously, as you should. But if you're here right now, there's no need to feel guilt or shame or anything like that. It wouldn't matter if we were in a real Discordian meeting room and there were, several people actually here, all enjoying the sacrament together. The moment of sacramental enjoyment is yours and yours alone. And we shall mark that occasion with, of course, the SWTP sacramental oath. I could not find a hot dog, not even with a bun. So I eat this candy noodle because devotion comes with fun. Hail Eris! Sugary and chewy. The best way for it to be. But is it? I don't know. And that brings us, brethren, sisterin, and of course my non-pigeonholed associates, to the end of another service. Hail Eris, glory to Discordia. And of course we'll be back next week. I feel that the vibes are flowing now. We are running, and every week we build just a little more. The energy is coming. We've got to be coaxed like a little sort of, we want a big roaring fire of Discordian chaos energy at the moment. At the moment we have enough to warm our hands by, and that is plenty enough for me. So as I said, next week of course we will be approaching the end of the Discordian season, and you will be able to join me for whatever I can manage to pull together on the Sunday for the changing of the seasonal guard as we move into 2024's aftermath period. But for now, it has been an absolute joy to sit here and to consider the Discordian world in a spooky lens. And there will be more spookiness next month as spookiness continues. Of course, the last slide has all the socials. Join, follow, like and subscribe, leave comments, all of that stuff on all of those different social channels. And the light of Discordia will flow, of course, unto you from this little e-chapel here in South Wales. Happy spooky month, and I shall see you at the close of the season next week.